The stream is live, and there's New York Vinnie in Seattle wearing his Highway 61 shirt. Yes, I think it can be easily done that way out on Highway 61.
Rolling down Highway 61. Oh, man, everybody got to take a ride down Highway 61 in their life if they love music, don't they, Michael?
It seems like, do you go down Highway 61 or do you go up Highway 61?
Well, I think you can go both ways. I think that it's one of those things.
After you go up, you feel like going down.
Yeah, you could go up seeing one side of the highway and partaking and imagining the people who took that ride up from Memphis to Chicago.
A lot of
Was it
telephones that do not ring.
right? And calling and seeing, do we got the gig? Do we got the gig? Do we got the gig?
Do you know where I can get rid of these things?
Yeah, you know somebody that'll somebody will borrow $5 from at some gas station, and you can clearly imagine what that would be like. And
And
then,
you've taken all the highways. I assume you've taken Highway 61.
yes, I've taken Highway 61 from
Natchez, Mississippi.
I think it's deep. I think it's New Orleans. Actually, goes up to New Orleans, and then you cut off and you go into Chicago. Um, I mean, I've taken it up, gotten off at St. Louis.
I would have kept going.
Yeah, it's there were cool stuff to see. I mean, it basically runs kind of, I guess, along the Mississippi, right? Not too. Some places next to it, some places far away from it.
Sometimes it crosses over, sometimes it crosses back.
Yeah, it has a whole thing. But there's
Where was it on Highway 61 that God spoke to Abraham? Do you recall that? Because
I think God
it
I
wasn't
think God
a mile
spoke to
marker.
Blues Boy on Highway 61. I think it was right at the crossroads of Highway 61 and 49.
Now that sounds like a crossroads, a fateful
There's a place
crossroads.
there called Abe's Barbecue.
And that's where God spoke to Abraham, and he ordered barbecue to go, right?
And he ordered barbecue
For all
to
the angels.
everybody. And as a matter of fact, that's the um, that's the place where Robert Johnson
Is it? Made the deal?
hung, and that
So
was
the
his.
devil went the devil went to that barbecue place, and God went to that barbecue place, and they fed the multitudes.
Well, that was the thing about Highway 61, Michael, is that you could
The
you could
people are sketchy, but the food is good.
the people are sketchy, the food is good. You could go up and down and get what you wanted out of it. There were several junctions, several places. If you was looking for seedy women, they was on the Highway 61 because they
And
knew there was
then
business on Highway
and I
61.
don't know if he was at the barbecue place, but there's a guy named Howard who features prominently in that song. And so Howard will be met there. In fact, maybe you could have lunch with him at the barbecue place.
Now, the the corner where Robert Johnson, made his pact with the devil, offering his soul in return for becoming a brilliant blues guitar. That whole legend
He
was
forgot to check.
actually
You got to check the fine print because it didn't say anything about him being shot down, and that
right. Right.
unfortunately,
Didn't say anything about that. He was for a short period an excellent blues guitar, but the devil said.
devil said you didn't read. It's in the details, brother, and you didn't read them.
But that was in Clarksdale, Mississippi,
Oh yeah,
because that was the thing. All these guys were coming up from Mississippi and and Tennessee and all that whole strip there, Arkansas.
yeah. Now the devil's working in parts of Ohio where Jim Jordan hangs out. He's because he was his eyes were turned to the Industrial Revolution, and he clasped Ohio to his breast and said, "You're my kind of state."
Well, Michael, not for nothing, but I'm actually starting to see, and call me crazy, I could be totally wrong. Yeah. I mean, I could be totally off, but I'm going to put it out there. Aren't you starting to see a little bit of a break on this whole Trump thing?
Here it goes. His lawyers are pleading guilty. The judge says you violated your gag order. Jim Jordan can't find his way home, and I can't find my way home.
Yeah,
And it's
I
it's
see.
all happening in hours. The walls are breaking, the dam is breaking, the dike is leaking.
It's a crippling thing that's going on for so many different reasons. But the biggest thing that I see is that the guys that are taking their marching orders from Trump
They're
are
coming up,
losing.
as Damon Runyon would say, it comes up mud.
Yeah, it just, I mean, Jordan's not going to get elected Speaker of the House. This is a guy, I don't know if I've ever heard of maybe besides George Santos,
They're
that's
buddies
been disliked as much as Jim Jordan
by his own people.
by his own, yeah, by his people. Not just as the Democrats don't like him, the Republicans don't like him. I mean, there's a 8 or 10 people,
He's
and if you
unlikable.
could get
Go ahead.
And if you could get him and you could get Matt Gaetz to have little or no power
That would be nice.
and get on with maybe some reasonable people. I mean, I don't know much about Patrick McHenry.
He ain't going to do it. He told him yesterday, "You want me to be the kind of guy you think Jim Jordan's going to be? I won't do it. I'll quit."
Right.
They
But
go, "Well, geez, McHenry, we thought you were going to play ball."
well, because they don't have enough people to play ball with them. They don't have because they know that there are enough people in the swing districts, the districts that voted for Biden but yet voted for Republican congressperson,
It's a troublesome factor.
that they can't just go and put this Jim Jordan in. It's suicide for them. So maybe, just maybe, we're starting to see Jim Jordan
But we're
and
starting to
that
see
whole
something that
ilk.
we saw something yesterday and this morning that Jim Jordan hasn't been able to pull off yet, and that is admit that he was a liar, admit that he was part of the insurrection, admit that he was part of the phony nonsense about the voting machines, admit that he lied on Fox News, admit that he lied in the press, admit that he lied on the floor, admit that he lied every day, and that he did it for Donald Trump. And the people who were in the boat with him, Chesborough and Sidney Powell, are standing in the wings now, waiting to testify against all of them, and it won't be long.
And are now convicted felons.
And how many do you think will make a deal tomorrow? Because as the legal phrase goes, and it's a legal phrase you don't want brought to your attention, the train is leaving the station. You can go on the train, or you can go to jail.
Again, if you're Donald Trump, you have to think it's all falling apart.
He's staying in
But
his
he
residence.
doesn't think like that.
He'll come apart. He'll wake up dead in the bathtub. He'll take Caesar's exit.
Nah. He loves himself too much.
That he's a coward.
He's a coward. He won't do anything like that.
Maybe Uday will have to poison him.
Yeah. He'll
I would leave it to Kusei, but he's not bright enough to get it in the right beaker.
right.
I poisoned myself. What a thing. What a thing. What a thing. What a thing.
He would go to jump out the window and fall out. He would go to push Trump out the window and fall out while he was opening the door.
And my dad was on the landing the whole time. He didn't go anywhere.
He didn't even put out a hand.
No.
So I think that's Michael. I think that's a I think that's a mortal lock there, to be honest with you, that this whole thing is coming apart with Sydney and
Chesborough.
the other guy pleading out. It takes a big advantage away from Trump's legal team that
By
wanted
the way, I
to.
heard media critique. I heard 3 anchors yesterday say, Chesborough, who knows, giggle, giggle. It's such a big story today. I hope that the editors and the brains that be at the network say, it's Chesborough, get it right, and it's not funny. This is no place for a giggle. This guy's going to testify against the ex-president. Get his name right, and then don't giggle. Just
Well,
because you don't know his name, it's Chesborough, giggle, giggle. He's got a name. Get it right.
I happen to take this a little bit differently, to be honest with you. I am of the thought that Chesborough, which it is Chesborough, isn't it?
Correct.
That Chesborough has put this country through so much bullshit that if they want to make fun of his name a little bit, God bless him. I mean, if you're Jake Tapper and you've been dealing with this idiot for how many years now?
Who lied to your face?
Who lied to you? Right. I mean, a lot of these news people have to be somewhat offended that how many of these pigs that are Trumpists have lied to their face.
Well, if you're an anchor, you should expect to be lied to by a politician, and if you don't realize you're being lied to, it's on you.
Right.
What do you think Jim Jordan's going to say today? Jim Jordan's going to talk to press guys. No, it hurts, and it's unnecessary. But don't say anything if you don't want to tell the truth. But Jim Jordan is going to be talking to the press for the rest of the day, and he's going to make up a story, the details of which evade me at this moment. But he's going to say something while he's holding his jacket and his drip-dry shirt and his Sansa slacks. He's going to say something that's ridiculous. And it's going to be a lie with no basis in reality, because that's what he trades in. That's the kind of nonsense that a Trump acolyte talks all day long. He talks nonsense. But the nonsense that makes up, that bolsters the Trump world, as you so rightly say, Vinnie, is coming apart. The tide is washing away the underpinnings. And when one goes, as we saw yesterday, others will follow quickly.
Well, yeah, it's not a stretch to say, these aren't. How do I put this?
Who went first? The lawyers went first, Vin. The lawyers saw the whole thing and said, wait a minute. Call the court.
But even if you go by, if you go back to the system that Donald Trump grew up in, okay, these guys that hung out at candy stores and in Richmond Hill in front of social athletic clubs and all this kind of stuff, the kind of guys that Trump adores, the kind of guy that he could never be.
Never.
The kind of guy that Donald Trump couldn't get in his car, drive down to 101st Avenue and 78th Street, let's say, and get out
and say, yo, Tony.
And there's a social club there and go, yo, Nick. Nobody would go back, yo, Don. He doesn't have that. He couldn't do that. He would drive by them shivering in the car with his hiding down behind the window line,
putting wrinkles in his blue suit.
But he wants to. He envisions himself as one of those people. He envisions himself as somebody who could hang with a Gotti or one of the earlier, even harder Dons.
Don Gambino wouldn't have anything to do with him. Gambino, no way.
Well, they did have things to do with him along the way.
Supplying the supplies?
Right, because you don't get things built in New York if you don't have some kind of
arrangement.
Something. But I don't know all of this to be true. It's just experience calculation from what I know and what I've read and what I've seen. You have to think at some point that he was not close to these people, but he had dealings with these people, whether it was through Weisselbrod or through whoever it was.
I bet he paid them.
And oh yeah, oh no, he paid. He paid what we had to pay. No, there's no doubt in my mind that Donald Trump paid whoever he had to pay, or he would have been dead in the street a long time ago.
Long time ago, because he didn't
A
pay
long
anybody
time
else.
ago. He would have walked out of Studio 54 one night
Hello and goodbye.
and gotten whacked, or getting into a car, getting out of his car outside of his house there on Fifth Avenue. No, but he was, he was making money for them. He was paying them off. He was making money. He probably had a couple of lieutenants assigned to him, and you have to think that when Rudy started to go on his crusade,
Got in the way.
that Trump was the first one he talked to. That Trump was the first guy, because Rudy knew you're not building all these buildings in New York without taking care of business.
So when Rudy started to shut him down, Trump says, "Take Carmine, but don't take Frankie."
So all of a sudden, Trump is giving testimony, or not out in the open, but he's telling them, you want to look at this one, you want to look at that guy, you want to look at this guy, you want to look at that guy. You don't think Trump is doing that? You don't know New York. If he can't be it, he will try to destroy it. And that's where I sincerely believe that that's where you get the Trump-Rudy connection.
Well, Rudy's on the list of 5 lawyers that are in trouble. 2 of them have made deals. 3 of them have to make a deal, and Rudy's one of them. And Rudy's got some problems. So, Rudy, time for you to be. Tomorrow's another day, Rudy. Another agreement, another plea.
Well,
The
yeah, I
train
mean,
is
I
leaving
don't
the
think.
station.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that Rudy gets out of this without making some kind of an agreement. I don't think there's any way that Rudy gets out of this by just going straight up and hanging to the. I mean, everybody's going to turn on Trump. Why? Because he's so egotistical that when he is finished with people, loyalty works if you take care of the people that are loyal to you.
Which you cannot do. You
When
cannot.
you don't take care of the people that are loyal to you, when you throw them by the wayside, when you look at them and say, you're nothing but a piece of crap, and I've used you for all I can use you for, I don't need to use you no more.
There were 19 defendants. Now there's only 16. And they're all and everybody turns from a defendant into a witness.
When this trial happens,
It'll be over before it starts.
it'll look like the scene in Goodfellas, where who you call it is sitting on the bench. Sitting at the table. Trump is sitting at the table with his attorney, and one by one, they're bringing up the witnesses. First, Ray Liotta, then all of the other witnesses, all of the people that they caught in Sting, in the drug sting, are all testifying now. Lois and the wife,
And her mother.
and the mother, and the father, and the young brother. They're all testifying.
And the crazy babysitter that kept using the phone.
Yep, Lois.
God, Lois never understood what she was up against.
Lois had no idea. She knew what she was doing, but I must have known 10 or 15 Loises when I was a kid. I swear to God, I knew at least 10 or 15 Loises here. Yeah, take this on the train to Brooklyn.
Where? You'll know. You'll know.
Yeah, I can. I don't have my hat. Yeah, take a fucking Yankee hat inside, huh? I
I
don't need that.
can't. I don't have my hat. That's the funniest answer ever.
I can't. I don't have my hat.
That reminds me of
The guy from Pittsburgh, the zabba-zabba-doo. That's the greatest thing about Goodfellas is that I knew a guy that was like a
I
guy
know you people,
in every guy that was like a guy that was a guy in that movie. I
including the
knew that.
doctor who says, "Whoa, sit down. You look a
I
little
knew the
sweaty."
hairdresser on Queens Boulevard, Maury. Um, I knew them all. I knew every one of them, man. I knew the crazy with the gun guy. I knew the bar. I
The
knew to
idiot
stay
about
out of that bar.
who was the idiot that bought the Cadillac? Remember him? He didn't last the night.
Yep. I knew the cigarette guys. I knew all the cigarette guys. Hey, I paid off more cops with cigarettes when I was a kid for my father than I'd ever like to remember.
They took cigarettes, huh?
Well, yeah, my old man sold bootleg cigarettes. Every once in a while they take a truck and go down to North Carolina and load them up, come back up,
I
and he'd
love
have a
it.
truckload of cigarettes.
I didn't know. Good for him.
So he was beating the tax people, and had a nice business going for himself. Which in that day, in that neighborhood, that's what happened. That's how you made money. That was your side job. You could either sell drugs, or you could sell cigarettes or stolen stuff. And my old man looked. He says, "Well, I'll take the cigarettes."
Seems harmless.
So that $5 carton of cigarettes was he was selling them for, I don't know, $2, and selling 500 cases a week.
Oh,
Yeah, he was doing good.
I have a warning, media warning for you. Ken Burns has a new movie, a new PBS documentary about the American buffalo. The first 2 hours are so sad, so awful, so revealing about who we are as a people and as we are stewards of our own nation, that I don't think I can watch the second half, and that's the good half. That's the half where the buffalo comes back, at least to a point. But the expose of destruction of the natural world and the nature of humans, especially from 1820 to 1890 across the West, is something that you have to have a strong stomach to take. And so I'm warning you, a sad warning and a outrage warning, but it's too late. The damage has already been done. The people have been marginalized. The buffalo have been slaughtered. The reasons behind it were so trivial and so unnecessary that it makes you scream in frustration.
Well, I am excited to go see the Martin Scorsese film,
Of the murders,
the Osage Murders, and I know that now I read a review of the movie that says it's probably one of the best films that Martin Scorsese has ever done. That
wow.
the acting and they really pick out Robert De Niro. in this film, and part of the reasons. I mean, I know I vaguely know the story. I'm not going to say I know it intimately, but I vaguely know the story about the slaughter of the Osage oil people. People control that land, and how shitty humans can be to other humans. And I will, but I want to see it because I appreciate Martin Scorsese's art,
And he's got a
and
great cast this time.
he's got an incredible cast. And this is a story that needs to be told correctly. It needs to be told in an epic that people will go and see.
Without any cushioning.
Right. It needs to be told in a way that people will go away from this, walk away from this, and pick up a book or go on YouTube and search out the documentaries that have been done about it and read it, and then go back and see the movie again, much as they did with The Godfather. Um, I actually wonder if this movie could be The Godfather of our time. That's how. And again, I haven't seen it. I'm going to try to see it over the weekend. Um, but that's how I feel about this movie. I'm going to walk into it expecting huge, huge things, and hoping that it delivers. And I have no reason to believe that Martin Scorsese won't deliver.
Well, Scorsese is one of the rare directors in America who doesn't have to make what the studio wants or do what the studio says. He has his own decisions to make and his own vision, and he answers to nobody but himself. It doesn't mean that he can do a slovenly job. It just means that somebody
Yeah, he's had a couple of knockers. I mean, he's had a couple of brutes.
Somebody at the studio in tight jeans can't tell him what to do. Somebody who's never made a movie.
Right. You can just basically look at them and say, get off my set.
Don't come around here.
Don't come around here. Maybe the I mean, maybe the worst thing he's done, and I don't know if it's worse, but it's certainly not up to Scorsese level. It's not a movie. But what was that thing he was doing with Fran? The thing where they were doing he would go on with her, and they would talk about the woman who's the penultimate New Yorker. Oh, I can't think.
Fran Horowitz.
Yes, thank you.
And they talk about who's a New Yorker and who's not.
Yeah, who's in New York, who's not. There's a fruit store. And Martin would just he was there just for a laugh track, mostly.
Do you go to Zabar's or do you go to the Gourmet Garage?
I don't. Well, I'd have to go to Zabar's because I've never been to the garage. Usually, I try to go downtown to Yonah Schimmel.
Or Trader Joe's on 23rd Street. Oh, hey, speaking of Chelsea, the Rolling Stones played a secret concert last night at a club called used to be called the High Life on West 16th and West 17th Street in Chelsea.
The High Line?
The High Life.
The High Life.
It's closed now. I don't know what it became, but they moved in all the sound equipment last night, played a set to promote the Hackney Diamonds release, and Lady Gaga played with them. And it's nice. It's nice when you put on a secret concert and the word gets around town and the first 50 people get to see the show.
How did people wind up finding out about the show? Just word of mouth?
They said it was going to be a listening party. Maybe the boys will play a song. No, they probably won't. Well, they may. We don't know even if they're coming. And then the sound trucks moved all the stuff in. And everybody knew they're coming. They're playing.
Yeah. Well, they're right around the block. That's right around the block from SIR.
Ah.
I think SIR is on 21st, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I don't know for a fact, but I think the Stones have some equipment after all these years. What I do with my amp? We got 70 of them. Which one do you want?
Well, it's funny because I don't know how much of this. I've always wondered this about a number of groups. Now, obviously, everybody has their own guitars. Everybody has a set of amps. Everybody has this. Everybody has that. But I remember for a long time, a good friend of mine worked for SIR, and when groups would come to town, they
They rent.
would deliver, amps and A to Z, so that when the people could come in, when the acts, and these were mostly not arena size acts, but
Clubs.
club acts, smaller acts, who it didn't pay for them to transport their stuff. Maybe they had a truck or something and they brought their guitars and maybe some amps or something, but usually it would go out to SIR, right? And SIR would come and they would, put the lights up and everything, and boom, you'd have a show.
You only tour with your own stuff if you're playing the smaller clubs where there is no SIR. So you got to take your stuff with you. And if there's no lights, that's tough. At least you can control the sound.
Yeah. And the good thing is with the small places, you don't really have to, if you're playing a place like Slim's, they have the majority of the sound there.
Right.
They have a pretty good system that you can plug into. But again, if you're going to use your own system,
Use your own system, that would probably be a mistake.
yeah, you're going to plug into what they have. We should get a sound guy on the show sometime just to explain to us how that all works. I've always been fascinated by that.
Your
Never.
sound was, and you could just say your sound was horrible. Well, it sounded good to me where I was sitting. Well, where I was sitting, your sound was horrible.
It's probably something the sound guy doesn't like to hear.
The Republican who can't count, Jim Jordan, once again exposed himself to a public beating this morning. I couldn't believe when I got up that they were already voting. I was going, well, what did they think is going to happen that didn't happen yesterday? In fact, it got worse. So these Republicans have painted themselves into not just a corner, but into a maze, and they can't get out.
Yeah, well, again, I think what you're looking at here is the ending,
The beginning of the end.
hopefully, or at least the beginning of the end of the Trump thing. I think people have had it. I think the worst thing that Trump could have done was advise Jim Jordan to shut down the government, and not get something done. Now, maybe he didn't count on the war breaking out
No, he didn't.
as it did, but in some strange way, it's driving home the point to people that the government as it is, locked up and confused as it is, cannot stand, because there is one question that nobody is asking. And I've been asking since the first day this happened, and even before.
Was the
What
question.
if this was us?
Nothing would be different. Trump would say, "Oh, the attack is on the U.S. This plays right into our hands. Do what I tell you."
What if this was us? What if these people were coming through the southern border? What if they were coming through Canada? What if they were coming in on ships in New York Harbor or somewhere in? What if this was us?
Taking hostages and holding up in Hoboken.
Yeah.
Or the Hoboken Strip.
Did we not learn anything from September 11th?
We learned about weapons of mass destruction, that's for certain.
Did we not learn? Have we not learned anything? That
I refer you back to Ken Burns' movie, The American Buffalo, where we learned absolutely nothing. Everything was explained to us, and we learned nothing.
Yeah, it is a shame. It's it is just a downright shame. Well, we have some time to fix it, hopefully. But to the people who say that this is thousands of miles away, why should we even care?
Children, they're just children.
Children. And to the people who say that, well, you can use this as a chip, you can use this as a bargaining chip,
Foolish.
foolish.
History does terrible things to fools. They suffer.
I just hope that, yeah, I know, because I'm a fool and look at what history has done to me.
Well, then that
I
makes me a
hope,
fool
Michael,
too.
that people wake up. I hope that this is a wake up call, not only for us, but for the people that run things, for the people that need to. And by the way, can I once again just say one thing before we? Because I know we want to jump into football here. Uh, can I just? I can't say enough about Biden, man.
He's come through.
I mean, again, who else? You go back and you think. I'll even go back to 2016. And in 2016, who would have you wanted in the presidency if this had happened then?
We were so close then.
I mean, even out of all the Republicans and all the Democrats that were trying to get the job, who would have you wanted? 2020, I'll go back to it. Who would you have wanted?
Well, I voted for Biden, so lucky for me.
Well, there was a lot of, but we forget that Biden was at best a long shot.
He was such
wasn't
a
going to
long
do it.
shot.
He wasn't going to run. He was done.
He was nowhere near the votes he needed to get through the primaries.
Went down to what's his name's picnic down there in South Carolina, that he persuaded him to run. He says, "Okay, I will deliver the black vote for you. We need you to run. We know your kid is gone. We know your other kid's having trouble, but we need you to run." Where the hell would we be? Who on the Republican side do you look at, with the possible exception of Mitt Romney,
who was not really a viable candidate,
that could have that would have been able to have the smarts to negotiate through this,
the experience
to negotiate through this, the realization that this isn't just over there.
It's right
This
in
has
your pocket.
much to do with over here as it does over there. I'm sorry, but
And Americans have done this before. We weren't going to enter World War II. It's not our war. That's Britain's war. That's Germany's war. France has got a problem. We certainly don't. What was that? Oh, those bombs? Oh.
yeah.
Oh. Well, let's go to the Senate bomb shelter. I hope America's got one.
Well, you realize that now, and you realize also now that the world has shrunk in so many different ways. It's
Tiny
not,
little old place.
yeah, it's not as big as it used to be. France may still be physically where it was, but it's a whole lot closer to the United States.
And it's also a whole lot closer to Ukraine.
If Putin gets away with what he wants to get away with in Ukraine, if
Czechoslovakia, Poland.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically looking at another Hitler, and it won't be long before it's Italy and and
Don't forget
France and
Albania.
Germany. And one of the pacts that we made with many of these countries after World War II is that they would not have standing armies that could. I mean, they have armies, but they certainly don't have armies the size of what they would need to defeat a Russian army.
And that was the one before we knew that the Russian army was full of holes.
And
But
that's why.
now
And
our alliance is united as it's never been before. NATO more united than ever before
right.
because the threat is greater than ever before.
Well, yeah, you have a and
Angry
you have
madman.
weapons that you haven't had before. And I just got a feeling that if we get into a conflict here, if we get involved in one of these conflicts, which we're going to have to, I don't think there's any way around it. We don't. Um, I mean, I'm surprised that we don't have troops on the ground in Israel already.
Well, to draw us into the fray, there'd have to be some sort of a hostile attack on the U.S. interests.
It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. I only hope that we can move the Trump needle down to zero and get some people. I mean, I know the election is a year away, but get some people in here that know what they're doing.
It's going to be a long year for the Republicans.
It's going to be a long year for everybody, I think. I think it's going to be excuse me. I think it's going to be a long, long year for everybody. All right, Michael, let's look at football.
Washington Saturday night on Fox Sports 1, and they're playing Arizona State, unranked.
Yeah, I would.
UCLA and Stanford. Miami, my team, is playing at Clemson. We won't be able to see that out here. But what can we see? USC's got a game that I can't find it now. Sure are a lot of games tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, enjoy them now before the snow comes. Trying to see the
Oregon and Wisconsin. That's going to be a big game. That's going to be on ABC. Their 12:30 game, and it's at Oregon. So goodbye, Badgos.
Yeah, I got where Oregon or where?
At home against the Wisconsin.
No, it's home against the Cougars.
That's a better game.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, we got a bunch of teams with buys. I guess we got.
Come on, you Cougars, wake up!
Oregon at the Cougars. That's Wisconsin. Oregon at the Cougars. Utah at Southern California. ASU at Washington. Number 5 ranked in the nation.
And Michigan, which can't stay out of trouble with the NCAA.
And UCLA
Michigan
at
State.
Stanford brings their UCLA brings their 4-2 record into Stanford, who is 2-4 this year, and up at Stanford Stadium. What a great place to see a football game too.
Remember seeing the pregame last time I was there. Well, I was there for Super Bowl 19. The last time I was there, it was the Raiders playing a preseason game. I can't remember against who. They played at Stanford.
I was there for Stanford and
day.
Minnesota, I think. I've been there a few times. Stanford, Minnesota, Stanford and Cal once.
Kristen asked me what was the Minnesota team. I said the Golden Gophers. She said, "You got to be kidding."
Hey,
The Golden Gophers.
Golden Gophers. And then what do we got here? And then in the NFL, what do we got here? What are some of the interesting? Baltimore's hosting Detroit, Chicago hosting Las Vegas. Cleveland will be in Indianapolis. Nothing that turns me on yet. Buffalo and New England. No, Buffalo at 1-5 New England. Who? Belichick
Ooh,
must be. You probably couldn't even get near his office these days. It's
oh,
red
I
hot.
didn't
Don't
know.
go in there.
I didn't know this, but Andre Iguodala of the Golden State Warriors has retired.
Oh,
I guess he was exhausted. He played 19 seasons in the NBA.
happy trails to him. He was a heck of a player for them. Giants in Washington. Tampa Bay hosting Atlanta. The Steelers in Los Angeles. The Cardinals are here to see the Seahawks. Seahawks are 3-2, and maybe Gino can beat the Cardinals.
And tonight we got baseball. Houston at Texas is a 2 o'clock game, and the Phillies at Arizona is a 5 o'clock game. Both on Fox. Well, first on Fox and second one's on TBS. And everybody started hitting the ball yesterday, so it's more of a game now.
Yeah, you got the Niners in Minnesota. That ought to be a win for the Niners. A 5-1 team versus a 2-4.
Playing indoors, nice field. Yeah.
Playing indoors, nice field. Everything seems to be rolling the right way for the Niners right now, right?
Well, we'll see if Christian McCaffrey is ready to play.
Yeah. But I think that maybe the 5:20 game on Sunday is the big one. Is Miami and Philadelphia.
It's going to be a great game.
Both teams 5-1. I kind of like Miami in that game. Be
Got
honest
to root
with
for
you.
Miami.
Yeah, kind of like Miami.
Where are they playing? In Miami?
In Philadelphia.
Tomahawk Schmamahawk.
Tomahawk. Yeah, I like the.
There's no Braves to make fun of.
It'll be yeah. Where would that be, Braves? It's Miami, Philadelphia.
Yeah, in Philly.
Yeah.
Well, it was the Philly fan who put up the sign that said Tomahawk Schmamahawk. So
Oh,
every time I hear Philadelphia, I think of that wonderful fan who had sitting way
yeah,
up at the top of the bleachers.
yeah. Philly will be
Be rocking.
be rocking this weekend. Are the games? Are the Philly games home or are they on the road?
That's a good question.
I think the Philly games are
They're at Arizona,
at Arizona. All right. Well, that could have been a madhouse.
and Texas is playing at home. It's not the Subway Series; it's the Covered Wagon Series.
Oh yeah, boy, you're 100% right, pal.
Teams hitch up their Conestoga wagons and go from Houston to Dallas.
Oh, it's just two fairly unbearable fan bases. You almost start to feel bad
For who?
if for Altuve, because every time he hits a home run, what did he hit his 25th home run in postseason play last night?
10th.
He gets booed.
People hate the Houston Astros. They just hate them.
Every ballpark he goes in, he gets booed.
You stink.
No, I don't stink. I just hit a home run. Yeah, you still stink. Craziness. Absolute insanity.
He's the most unlikely home run hitter. He's so compact and strong. When he whacks it, it's gone.
But boy, he's just got that swing. He's got that motion. He brings his hips around and hits that ball, and he just splatters it. All right, man. I guess that's about our show, isn't it?
Tell me about your show tomorrow.
We'll have a drive time radio show tomorrow that will talk about getting your car ready for winter. We will preview I mean, I
What
should
kind?
say
What kind
root
of
beer.
winter is that? Is that a Seattle or a Wenatchee winter,
Well,
or
I
is that
think we're going to go
a
with a
LA winter?
Seattle winter because from all the winter um, forecast that I'm seeing, it's an El Nino year, and El Nino is saying snowmas, snowmas.
No más, senor. Hey, by the way, O'Reilly Auto Parts installs their wipers for free, and they advertise it that way, which I think is a
Yes,
great idea. I don't know if other autos sales,
most of them do. Yeah, most of them do. Uh,
because no one
um,
in the world knows how to put on a wiper unless you've been trained at the factory.
you know what? I've been trained to do it, and I still screw it up sometimes because for some reason they decided let's have 6, 7 different ways to put a wiper on.
I
Let's
can't
have
do it
4 or 5 different ways that we can do this. Let's make it confusing for the average
for
person.
everybody.
Maybe some of them you got to come out and put a little screwdriver in the thing to take it off. Maybe the other ones you just have to squeeze them with your finger and it comes off.
The little things
Maybe
pop
some of them
in.
you have to do like this. It's just if you want to fix America, standardized windshield wipers.
And then Mercedes will come out with one that's 7 feet long, and there's only one on the front window. It does the
Yeah.
whole window,
Oh, I remember when General Motors came out with the hideaway windshield wipers.
which no one could find. Where are they? They're hiding. What do you think they
Where
are? They're
are
hiding
they?
away.
my guy,
They're,
my dad had a guy that worked for.
they're hiding away.
My dad had a guy that worked for him. He wasn't the smartest guy in the world. You know, he was a pump jockey. Nice guy, but he wasn't swift.
Wasn't quite right.
And somebody came in with a Corvette, 69 Corvette, and wanted to get their wipers changed. Well, the 69 Corvette was the first car that had the panel that would come up and hug the windshield so you wouldn't see the windshield wipers. That idiot. I mean, it took him 3 hours to try to figure out where the windshield wipers were.
They're hiding away.
It never occurred to him he had to turn the car on, turn the wiper on so the panel would move, and then shut the ignition off so you could change the wipers.
Is he a Republican lawyer now?
I think he's actually his name is Chesborough.
No fair. Those wipers were hiding away the whole time. They knew I
He's
was
the
looking for them.
Chesborough. A
And the more I looked
Queensboro
for them, the more they
Chesborough.
hid.
All right, Mikey. Listen, have a good weekend, man. I will catch up with you on Monday.
You have one too, Vin.
All
What
right,
about
brother.
the
Take care of
line?
yourself. All right. Bye bye. And thank you all for listening, by the way. I almost forgot. We always appreciate it. And if the Lord's willing, the creek don't rise.
We were going to do the end of the show, but it was hiding away, and we couldn't find it.
We had the end of the show right here. It just had to jump into my mouth.
Just want to say,
We'll see you Monday if the Lord's willing. And the creek don't rise. Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby. Oh my God. Some days one of these days I gotta retire. Maybe I'm just gonna get to that car right behind me and just take off.